Hi, my name is Eileen Crispell. I am a storyteller, writer, wife, older mom, architect, and a shaman. I help people heal and empower their souls. I saved my own life by applying medical medium information, and I've been applying this information in mine and my family's life since 2012.
Hi, I am Amy Jones. I'm an autism mum, a home educator, a no-dig gardener, a near-death experiencer living a plant-based lifestyle, and I help people heal their souls as a shaman. I've been following medical medium information ever since 2015, and mine and my family's life has changed dramatically since.
Hi, everybody. Amy and Eileen here with another podcast. And today we have a guest with us. We love when we have guests, don't we, Amy?
We certainly do, yes.
So today we have Elizabeth Chavarria. She says I'm supposed to roll that R, but my mouth is incapable of rolling R's. And you guys all probably know her as Liz from Underdog Warriors. And Liz, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you both for having me. I have just recently listened to your podcast and I really find your conversations insightful and it's really great to see that just because you both have wisdom from using the medical medium information. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, we
Thank
love to
you.
hear that because that's why we do it. It really is. We really try to stay down to earth and pretty real with our conversations. So, Liz, you and I have we met a long time ago, didn't we?
It was, I think it was in 2019, some around that time. I think
Yeah.
I had been on MM for a little over a year, maybe a year and a half, something along those lines.
So would you start out by giving us a little bit of your story with like how did you find medical medium? What brought you to medical medium? Tell us about the beginnings of all of this stuff.
The journey has definitely been an arduous journey, but going back to where I first came to find medical medium, it actually takes me back to a moment in my life where I had had so many health problems growing up. I actually almost died a few times
Wow.
because of my just problems with my health. So when I was like around 7 years old, I was hemorrhaging because my nose wouldn't stop bleeding. The doctors at the ER at my local hospital couldn't really do much, so then my mom had to drive me to a different town. Meanwhile, had all this blood, it just wouldn't stop bleeding, and my eyes, like blood was even coming out of my eyes,
Wow.
and it just the chronic strep. So I remember that, and I just have like these references of when I was a child and just going through these different experiences. And so what happened during that time is something in me, I told my mom, I don't want to get a blood transfusion. Please tell them to not give me a blood transfusion. Meanwhile, I was only 7 years old.
That's amazing.
So I had a knowing in me that I would recover. So looking back and reflecting on all these things, I can definitely see how I was always taken care of, and there was always like a force taking care of me and watching over me. And then fast forward to when I was 12, 13, I started my menstrual cycle. And at 13 years old, again, I was hemorrhaging and it wouldn't stop bleeding. Doctors can't do anything. I went to go see my doctor. I was referred to a gynecologist, and this man just prescribed me birth control, and it didn't get better. It was something that my hemoglobin levels were a 2. So for anyone that knows about certain levels within out. You're supposed to get a blood transfusion when there is 7. Anyways, I didn't get a blood transfusion. Again, I refused. I just sort of I didn't have any answers and I was lost. And in that moment, just going through all of that, having being on the birth control, I knew that it wasn't an answer. And so what happened was I again had a knowing that one day I would find answers. But little did I know, I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know what it would be. And then little did I know how much worse things would get along the years. Um, so that was again another reference in my life that I have. But I mentioned that because when I found medical medium after all those years, and I didn't find MM until I was in my last year of my undergrad. So when I found MM, it was at a clinic and I was shadowing a doctor, and a patient actually lent me the first medical medium book.
Wow.
And she had it bookmarked on the celery juice page. When I went home, I started reading about the celery juice, but then I said to myself, I have to read from the start. Like I have to read this book from the start. And so once I started reading it, I connected back to that moment when I was 13 years old. And I knew that one day I would find answers. And that's when I recognized the information for what it was. So it was really a full circle moment. And the woman that lent it to me, she's a very, very sweet lady. And I'm actually not in contact with her anymore, but it was it, it was that was the start of it all. And so I'm just really, really thankful for that. But leading up until finding medical medium, I obviously went through so much more. I I feel like at that point when I found it, I needed to find it because I feel that I was crawling in life.
It's really powerful. There's so much in there. I mean, for you to be 7 years old and have what Amy and I would call this really deep soul connection where you're going,
Yeah.
no. I mean, at 7 years old to say no, thank you to the what the medical community was telling you you needed to do. Most adults can't do that. And even if you can make that decision as adult, there's still so much fear because of the way our culture works, the medical community. It's scary, really super scary to say no to something that doctors are telling you they know is what you need. That's
Yeah.
incredible soul connection.
Yeah. I
I
think, oh, go ahead.
I think it is. I mean, I'm sure that's what it is. I also do feel like there was like a just a bigger force, right? The angels, God
Yes.
watching over you. Yeah. So it again, that those were some very powerful moments. But going back to when I was 13, everything changed within my body when I was prescribed the birth control. And I don't think it had even been a year where I said to myself, like I stopped taking it just because I then started experiencing excruciating pain. After that, my body changed. I felt so sluggish. I felt so gross within my body. And then this whole journey of just losing trust with my body started at such a young age. And I thought my metabolism had just like gone wrong. I thought everything had just gone wrong within my body. I just did not feel well. And so there was this when you're at such a young age and you feel like your body's breaking down and now you can't really you can't eat how you used to without feeling like it's just like like you're being so affected by everything you eat. So I also stopped eating because I felt better not eating food. And I would just eat very, very little here and there. So then that led to just this constant fight with my own body. And it led to so many more symptoms after that. In high school, I I was functioning. I could still function, but I it was my body was limiting. And so I did end up coming back to myself when I started playing sports. But again, you're just trying to like go through life and you're young, and so your body is able to like try and recover a bit better. But I still had all these issues, and I developed over 100 symptoms. So it got to the point where in high school, and I know mental health well, but not in a way where I was depressed or no depression in a way that other people know it. It was more of going through seasonal affective disorder. And again, because your liver just, and I, at the time, I didn't know it was my liver struggling. I, I had all these symptoms. I didn't understand why. And I still have these visions in my mind where I look back at myself and it feels like I was watching myself going through these symptoms.
We're
And
out of body.
yes.
Yeah.
And I have that ingrained in me. I just have those visions in me where it's very, very clear during certain moments of my life through high school and undergrad where I can just see myself experiencing these things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Liz, because you talk about back when you said about losing trust with your body. I was going to ask you if it led to sort of disassociating or feeling outside of your body, because this is the typical thing that Eileen and I see. And it's interesting, Eileen talking
Especially
about
at
that
that
soul.
age.
Yeah, it's interesting, Eileen, talking about that soul connection you had when you were 7, because you see this in children. You see this when children really don't want to take medications and they're being forced to medications by their parents. They're being forced medical
Right.
treatments. They're saying no, something in them knows. But then what happens is this process of trust breaking. And so a person's soul starts to get beaten down by the world. And then that process then continues on and on. I always say the soul is the prize, like the soul
Mhm.
is the goal. That's really what the illness is really trying to do, is tear down your soul. And I
Yes.
think your journey really speaks to that. And that's why the story itself is so important, because it's very relatable. A lot of people will find themselves in your words and in your experience, even though their stories will look entirely different.
And just going back to that to tie it all together, AW, Anthony William, right, medical medium, says that women hold their power in their reproductive system, their
Yeah.
adrenals, and their mind, the soul. And I feel that all of those darkness had been trying to break down and throughout my entire life. So it's really been a journey of trying to heal all of that. And again, with everything that I had gone through, and like I mentioned, when I found MM, I was so depleted. I had so many neurological symptoms. I didn't know what was going on in my body. And I was going to school to become a doctor. And through all that, through all those phases in my life, I just kept telling myself, "Oh, I'll go to school and one day I'll learn to do it myself," because clearly they didn't learn whatever they needed to in school. So that was my thought, because I never imagined that there would be so much more to know. And so that was my whole thought process along it. In undergrad, I was so lost and I was really disconnected with myself. And it was really this journey of realizing, wow, we do not actually have answers. My 13-year-old self just kind of thought, oh, I will, I'll go to school, I'll learn things myself. I'll learn how to recover. So then when I was an undergrad and going through all of these realizations, I I didn't even know it was possible to heal at that point.
You know, when you
Healing, yeah, healing was something foreign to me at that point.
when we don't think we can, right? When nothing tells us we
Yeah, and
clear.
we're just trying to fix our broken bodies. That's the narrative that we have, isn't it? Fix your
Mhm.
broken body, go over there, and that expert and
Or
science
even
will
just
fix your broken
reduce,
body.
Mhm.
live with symptoms better, you know?
Yeah, symptom management, rather than knowing that you actually have a God-given right to heal, that there are angelic forces at play, also trying to be the person in the hospital bed next to you that hands you a medical medium book with the answers. It's kind of, planting those angels in our
Mhm.
path and then supporting our healing journey. We're completely kept blind to all of that stuff, and you can see why.
It's because that field, everyone's really, and I myself have an analytical mind. But everyone is really, you get caught up in all of that. You get caught up in, oh, mechanisms because everything's designed that way, including pathogens, right? The reason we know about certain mechanisms is because it's created. The reason we don't know about certain things about our health is because the supernatural is in all of that and we don't understand that. But anything that's man-made, there's like a mechanism to it. And that's like what you learn in school and what you're taught, or there's a specific pathway and that's what you're taught. Meanwhile, there are so many other details within it all that are
I
also
love how they
missing.
also teach all this stuff is so it's rote and it's completely figured out. It's just
Mhm.
not, and just some acceptance of, yeah, we know some stuff, right? And we know some important stuff, but there's a whole lot of stuff we don't know too. Like I think that would really, just that openness would change so much for people in the medical field. But it's interesting to
I
me, Liz, because I honestly don't really remember the details of our first conversation. But what I do remember about you, I'm seeing in you right now, and you're talking about, which is I think you were telling me like all of these people were telling you things, and you were like, but I don't think that's true. And I was like, trust yourself, Liz, trust yourself.
it was, yeah. So when I was in school, I really start in undergrad, I really started questioning a lot of things of why is this that. But it was also, again, I was coming to these realizations that we were in my mind, this is what these were my exact thoughts. We're screwed. I I had no idea that like I had no idea how people were ever going to recover, how people would even how there would even ever be an answer to illness. And the reason I'm saying that is because one of my professors was a neuroscientist and I got to work with him. And so he and Alzheimer's. And so he at one point sat me down and then he said, if you want to make a career out of this, you have to follow the money. Those were his exact
Interesting.
words. And so all I'm learning all these things and being exposed to all of this, and I'm just trying to comprehend why there aren't any answers, why, and it really baffles me now how people in the medical industry, how they don't come to that realization. I wasn't even in medical school yet. I was just in my undergrad. And I'm learning that no, we just have all of these studies, and we know AW talks about this all the time, but before I even knew about medical medium, I was coming to these realizations. Wow, we have all these studies, but there are no real answers within it all. And that was a very, very dark and scary time of my life. I will say that I just I could not bring myself to really know, like I had lost hope. I had lost faith. I had no faith at that time. I I did pray, but I questioned whether there was a force that knew of my suffering. It just it was a very, very dark time.
Yeah, that's a really tough place to land because you're breaking trust with your body, you're disassociating, your whole view of the world is now turned on its head, and you're thinking, we're screwed. And, and if you take faith out of the equation, without God, we are all screwed, aren't we? Because we're just left to our own devices. There's no medical medium books
Well,
coming
I
down
believe
from
that,
above.
but
Yeah. Like if there is no, but your connection to hope, your faith, hope, trust, and faith. These are the resources that live within the soul. This is medical medium information, and these are your connection with the divine, with God, with light, with the universe, with something bigger
Yes.
than just us, whatever it is that people believe. But this is a point at which people normally would send an email. Maybe this is why you spoke to Eileen at the time. But like this is we would hear from people at this point, because this is why your story is so important, because there is a moment in people's life where it all crashes down. And that's so scary when you start to see the world through a different lens, and the facade, the illusion kind of falls away, and your health is not what it is. And like you say, when you were younger, you were going to find an answer, and you're going to have this recovery, and you're in tune, you know what to do. It's such a terrifying place to land. And there's so much soul's growth though that happens at that point. It's a horrible, excruciating place to be, but it's so important in our stories to sort of land there, and then make that decision to take that next right step and move forwards. It's the hero story. It's the survivor's tale. I always say the survivor's tale.
so
Meanwhile, your body's just really breaking down
Yep.
yeah.
and really depleted. And I can tell you this during that time. I was developing all these neurological symptoms and the anxiety, anxiousness, the loss of peace. I
Mm,
don't think that's talked about enough.
it's not.
You lose all peace. I
Yeah.
had insomnia. I I was really struggling. And even once I found a medical medium, you find all these answers, but then I was challenged. I was still really challenged, and it took an incredible amount of faith to develop and to really continue on with it. I knew it was the answer. I absolutely knew with my whole being that it was the answer, and up to finding it, that word compassion had been following me. So I, yeah, again, right, just going right up until finding I came in touch with that word compassion. And so I asked, like, what is this word? What does it mean? I don't think I fully understood what it meant up until that point. And then I find and there's that word again. Wow, compassion. And just goes back, like compassion is the truest part of who you are. And at that point, I had just reached a point where like everything had just there was nothing else in me. But the one thing that was there was just compassion. So I just like just that self-compassion. Um,
I was going to ask you about once you found the medical medium information, because it's not like everything's done, right? There's
no.
still like a lot of work to do and a lot of things to move through and a lot of things to process, and it takes time. And I actually, in a way, feel bad for the people who are just finding medical medium
Yeah.
information. 8 volumes or whatever it is. And I'm like, holy cow, how do you process all of that and understand it? And there's this idea that if I just get to the right protocol, I'm going to be better.
Hmm.
And but it's really the beginning of the long journey.
It really
So did you
is.
question it? I mean, you found it and you're like, and something in you told you this is right, but like what happened next? Did you dabble? Did you go back and forth? Like, is it right? What happened for you next?
I didn't really dabble. I knew it was what I was meant to find and the answers. And I think the question is, are you gonna build the faith that you need to really trust and earn that trust, earn your body again, your body loses trust in you as well, right? As we know from liver rescue. So for me, it's been a journey of earning my body's trust again,
That's a very interesting way to put it.
as well as trusting it again and in healing. And I think that I'm at a point right now, just currently, where I feel that I'm still trusting in all of that in my own body. And that's a whole separate thing in of itself, and like why I decided to go fat free and things like that. In trying to earn my body's trust again. But anyways, going back to that when I first started, I was really challenged. In a way, I sort of feel that if you just find medical medium, it may be a good thing. But back then, we didn't have all of the information we have now, and I didn't understand my vagus nerves were inflamed. I didn't quite understand that or make that connection, right? That it was my vagus nerve causing all these symptoms, like feeling like I didn't know how to breathe. And so you live like miserably.
Mhm.
And so I didn't understand a lot of things, but with the information that I did have, I was able to build a foundation. But for me, sticking to it a year and not really seeing results. And I was still, up until not that long ago, like I was still having very toxic exposures in my own environment.
Mhm.
But up
That's
until
a
that
thing a lot
point,
of people deal with. It's actually hard to get out of those
mhm,
toxic exposures.
Yeah, it takes
exactly,
some time to set your world right. It's not an overnight thing. It's,
exactly,
and financial implications and existing relationships and all of those kind of
exactly,
things.
exactly. So when I started, I think it was a year that went by and I still wasn't feeling well. And I knew there was also a lot more going on spiritually, but I couldn't understand it. We don't just don't have that conscious
I think that's some
awareness.
of the things you and I were talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I started following the healing path, and I knew I had to work on my faith
Mm.
because part of healing is all of that. It's not just your physical symptoms. It's like the rebuilding process. Right, developing that faith if it was broken down, and that hope, and again like trust within it all. And I remember I would take these walks, and I'm actually so grateful that I had that time in my life where I could focus on my healing and make that my sole focus, even if I didn't have all the resources. But I would take these walks, and every single day I would do the affirmations and my walks. And then eventually, and one day I was in the passenger seat of the car. My brother was driving, and I had this spiritual connection with an angel, you could call it. And I wasn't even thinking about angels. I wasn't thinking about it. I was just looking out the car, watching the sunset. And I felt the angel of faith's presence. And it was like as if she was just drifting out and like just just in space while the car was driving. And I feel that faith seeping into my body
Mm.
because I had been asking for it every single day, just being so persistent with it that I just needed to get my faith together so that I can stick with medical medium and have that faith to just continue going, even if I wasn't seeing results. And at that moment, like a lot of it just again, it was there to like get me through the next phase of my life. And unfortunately, that was another time where my dad ended up getting cancer and he almost died. And I had to like go through that whole process and trying to heal yourself and going through all of that. And so I ended up making most of the medical decisions, which I'm so, so grateful for because
You mean for your dad?
for my dad,
Hmm.
yes. But I do feel like the angel of faith stepped in when I needed her because that happened right before all of this happened. Otherwise, I don't feel like I would have really been able to keep it together.
Yeah,
Amazing.
faith is such is the glue that holds all the pieces together, really, isn't it? I always say like faith is the inverse of fear. It's the opposite. And when we're fearful about our bodies, our symptoms, are we going to live? Are we going to die? Are we ever going to get better? Like it's faith
Yes.
that we have to be lean into, and it's the make or break. And so many people lose a sense of faith if they don't see symptoms on their timeline. It's sorry, symptoms recover from on
Hmm.
their timeline. If they don't see that, then they're going to jump into that podcast doctor over there, that fancy little mindset tool over there, and they're going to spend a lot of time and money on these other things. And faith can really hold you together when you're really sick. Like faith is really the one thing I always say faith is something you've always got, but so is time. Time is really the one thing you
Yes.
have got, because people complain like, oh, I've got all this time is passing by. I'm like, but time really is the one thing we've got, because in that time your body needs that time to heal with its own wisdom as to what needs to happen and when.
Absolutely. And that really helped me move forward. But then again, it was a lot more trials. It gets me emotional because we go through these things and they just shape us, but again, they become our soul's gold, right?
They do.
So
But it takes some work to get to that soul's gold.
But you're doing it, Liz. You're
You
doing it.
are
You're
doing
bringing,
it.
because
that was a long time ago, but it's still very touching for me because I still have to go through that, right? I have to care about my family. I've got this organization now to really like help care for others as well. But it's all these things and yes, it gets me emotional, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. I feel like I would have never grown how I've grown if I would have never gone through all of that.
Well, that
And
was my next question. Now
Mhm.
that we know a little more details about your story and all the things we you've gone through, I think most people want to use what they've learned to help other people. But in the midst of all of this, you've started an organization to help other people called the Underdog Warriors, and you're doing it.
this is your soul's gold.
Yeah, like
This is amazing.
where
Yeah,
did
tell
that
us about it.
come from?
yeah, so it was through all of those trials, the hardship, not necessarily having the resources. I can't always say my parents understood my journey. Um, And yeah, I do want to keep it a little lighthearted, but right. It's like you go through these things and it's wow, you're just really beaten down from it all. So again, I had all those experiences and I was just kind of pacing back and forth one day, and I just had this insight. And at that point, I had made major progress in my healing and had really overcome a lot of the fatigue. And at that point, I was like, oh wow, this is what I meant to do and what I need to do. And it was a very a moment. Adub says that, right? We might have these thoughts that come from an angelic source, and
Mhm.
right, he might not have used those exact words, but right, we can have these thoughts. And to me, that's what it felt like when I had this thought, wow, like I know other people need these resources. They're not so easy to get. And resources as far as like medical medium recommended tools to help people on their healing. And so I did. I had this thought process, and I did share it, and we got started. I say we because at the time, uh, my co-founder also helped to start this, and I didn't think we would be starting it at that point in my life. Like I wasn't ready to start a nonprofit. I'm like I by any objective metrics, like I haven't achieved anything.
I don't know about that, but yes, I understand. I've actually worked
Yes.
for nonprofits. It's not such an easy
Oh,
task.
no, it's not. So at that time in my life, I was like, okay, wow, like, am I really gonna start this? Is this really going to happen? And it has. It's really developed into something now where um we just, we do it on our free time, and we get to help people out with whatever they need, whether it's juicers, if they need medical medium books, if they need supplements. Uh, and we work with certain practitioners in the community. So we do pair people up if they feel like they really need that help and support. And we're so gracious to be partnering with them, and they take on people and work with them pro bono. So because the intention is always to get the money to where it needs to go, and that's towards those immediate resources that people need. And to me, that's always been very special. And the intention has always been to have that just go straight to people in the community. Something that I really care about, I'm passionate about. I can't always say that I have compassion for everything within the organization. I think like it sounds nice and all right to people. Oh, like you have a nonprofit. Yeah, well, there's a lot of administration work and things to do within it all.
Yeah.
So I can't say I have compassion for all of that. And I
There's
think
a
with a
lot
lot
of
of things,
legal and financial issues, and you actually need
exactly.
expertise help. It's really not an easy thing to do.
Exactly. But the joy and the fulfillment comes when speaking to people, listening to their own stories. And I get emotional just as I get emotional about my own healing story. I mean, we'll be talking to people and I like just want to bawl my eyes out. Right. I really truly want to feel in on their pain, and that's how it goes. But I think that's the fulfilling part about it. And it's not like we're meant to be such a big part of their journey. If it is that way, amazing. But I think the thing within it all and with Underdog Warriors is I I get to purchase these things that I know hold a lot of value and that I know our people really value as well. And when they receive these items, or when we're on the phone with them, speaking with them, or when we're on a video call with them, that's that's where the compassion comes in.
Yeah.
Um, right. And but just like anything else in life, it's not like we have compassion for everything else we have to do in life.
No, sometimes you just gotta effing do it. Like that is sometimes the mantra and just get it done to get to the next step. But I think it's probably not by mistake that there is so much red tape and administration to hold you
Yeah.
back from the things that actually are really gonna change people's lives. Like, it's a noble thing to do, and it must be a huge require a huge amount of you. And when somebody does share their story with you, you're really connecting soul to soul. It's such an honor when somebody trusts
Mhm.
you enough to be able to bare their soul and tell you what shapes them and what has brought them to this sort of place, and where they might be desperate, and to so but it's weighty, it's heavy for you as well, as much as it is an honor.
It is. And something that people say this all the time, don't and I really dislike this. Oh, you need to put up a wall. To a certain extent, you can put up a wall, but in order for someone to really feel seen and heard and understood, you really do have to have that compassion for them and feel you do like you should be feeling in their pain, but just also acknowledge you also have your own story and what you've been through.
This
But
is something
that's
Amy and I deal with on a daily basis as
mm,
practitioners who help people. And I think the wall is people's protection, right?
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
because as you just said, you're a part of their story. You can't actually swoop in and save anybody.
No.
But your compassion, being seen, being heard is actually hugely instrumental in their story. And I think it's very difficult for anybody. I think our natural human tendency is I want to swoop in and just, you know, save the day. But um, because of free will and a lot of other
Mhm.
things, we are actually responsible for saving ourselves.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I really don't feel like I've been doing much with Underdog Warriors. I just like if I can listen in on someone's story, like I feel like I've done enough. I don't feel like I can do anything more for them. Like everyone in the community has to work towards, again, healing themselves, saving
Right.
themselves. I can only do so much, and I'm fine with that.
That's
I just
actually a
want to do
really
my best.
important piece. If you're going to help every other people, you have to be able to
Mhm.
sit right there where you're talking about that I can be a piece of it and I can hear your story, but I know I'm not responsible for the whole thing.
And this is
Exactly.
something we've worked with other practitioners, haven't we, Eileen? Is to sort of
Hmm.
like how to stay unattached to outcomes, yet
Hmm.
give compassion. So without putting up a wall, you do have to give something of yourself,
Hmm.
but you don't want your energy hooked into that person for for the rest of the day, for the next week or whatever. You've got to keep your energetic boundaries strong. And often that
Absolutely.
also comes at a point in a person's healing journey. If someone's nervous system is really down still, and they've got a lot of neurological issues, it's harder to hold those energetic boundaries. And then it's harder to give that compassion as well. So it does actually speak to a person's point in their healing process to some degree as well. But I think it's lovely that you say, if I can just hear someone's story, because I often think sometimes people don't need another supplement, they need a friend, they need someone to give that gift of compassion, just someone to listen when everybody else has been saying, no, you're crazy, you're wrong, it's in your head. And,
Hmm.
they're not believing a person. When you can really sit with someone, I think that really ignites something within a person's soul that's very powerful and long lasting.
I have seen that. I really have seen that with the people that we have helped. Maybe not everyone, but yes, I have seen that where it's like it just ignites something in them. And my job is just to be there, maybe get them some help for a short amount of time and right because I don't know exactly what will become of our organization, but I'm really happy with what we're doing right now. And yes, there's so much more that needs to be done in the world, but I also like I can also only give so much.
I think those angels are
Um,
still helping to guide you and will let you know when there's a next step, right?
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, go
so
ahead.
I'm just really grateful for the people that have contributed and support and donate to the organization and just believe in that the mission that we're here to provide people with resources to
Yeah.
really help them, right, kickstart, help them move forward, whatever it is, on their healing journey. But yes, they ultimately they are responsible for it themselves.
Yeah. But you give people so much more than resources. You give people hope. You maybe reignite a person's faith. You get there, you activate. I always say, I'm a bit of a broken record, but I always say we're a body, a heart, a spirit, and a soul. Medical media information. But like I always
Mhm.
say this, we have to remember we've got all of these pieces to move forward. So all of these pieces need healing. And when they come together, the healing really kind of clicks and and moves forward. But Liz, I'm kind of sitting here thinking, it's 2026, it's the beginning of 2026, and here you are training to be a doctor and starting your non-profit, and that's all in its early stages. What will it be like in 2036? Like, watch this space. You've got purpose, you've got your soul yanked back in your body, you've got your healing tools, you're moving yourself forwards. And I just think it's going to be a fascinating journey to see where you go, because you've got a lot of the dreams very much alive in you. And
Mhm.
it's so lovely to see because you're so young and there's a lot more to come.
I I'm still very much in a part of my journey because a lot of things have happened over the year, and I've realized that there's there's always been a lot trying to slow me down and stop me, and within it all the stress and how from a very young age my nervous system, my adrenals. So I personally, I think I'll find the rest, like my healing will come with everything else in my life that kind of just comes together. I want to be, I really want to be at a point where I can truly say that, I'm healed. And so I think for me, that's the most important thing for me. Being in school, and my first year of medical school did not have to be what it was. It's just there were so many things that happened, like all these water leaks. My dad almost died again. I went through a very, very difficult time with it all, like mold and being displaced from my home, and so all of that just added on to the formaldehyde exposure, dear Lord,
My goodness.
from school, from cadaver lab. And all of that just like really it really slowed my healing down. And so I've had to like really recover from that and try to get better. So this next year I'm working really hard on my healing while trying to manage school and head into my third year now. But I would say that in the end of it all, if you mentioned 2036, I like coming back to school, like it brought me a lot of, and now that I'm past that first year and things have been a little calmer, uh, it's I really come to see my role in this and my purpose because I get to share medical medium information and I stand firm and strong with my beliefs and I speak with conviction because I know it's true. Whereas my classmates, I will say, no, well, that's not right. And so,
I love that.
maybe I'll have some yeah, I have one professor that she just doesn't. I have her for a shift this next year, so we'll see how things go.
My professors used to
But
call me stubborn, so you know.
so, but in my point with me sharing that is my classmates will say, "Oh, I don't know." Like they just don't have that
Yeah.
experience, they don't have that wisdom, they don't have that knowledge. And so I really know everything's come like in full circle, and I feel right. I was reborn with purpose and knowledge after finding medical medium information and being in this role now, and I get to share medical medium information with them or really challenge beliefs in the medical world and stand up to that. Like I've really found a lot more fulfillment in that. And so it's just what I want to keep doing and what I want to do in the future. So I really see myself being this voice because I have all this experience as well, right? Like I got emotional earlier, like sharing everything I had to go through with my own healing journey and then my dad's sickness and all of that. But I had to learn to have all this strength, which I have now. And I can speak firmly because, yes, I know what I'm talking about. Um, Whereas my plan was kind of just to lay low, put my head down, I'll get through school. But now I'm seeing that my purpose and my role has been no, like even while you're in school, like you're gonna have to do these things. You're gonna have to speak up. You're gonna have to challenge these beliefs out there. And you're gonna have to just be this force to spread this information. So I really see myself being a voice of this information and representing medical medium, and not that I wanted to, it's just kind of fallen and we all represent medical medium in our own paths and what we do and how we share the information. But when you're in a setting like this and then you tell people, yes, I celery juice, yes, I do heavy metal detox smoothie, you're now like representing medical medium and they're like watching you. And anything you say, I have not all my professors know. I mean, I'm sure they know about medical medium, but the conversation hasn't really gone into that with them. I'm kind of moving through that with intention and introducing them to the information, and that's a very slow process. Um,
You're a
right,
force,
didn't
you're going to be you are already a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
I didn't just walk into to school and be like, "Oh, I know all of these things," right? This second year of mine has really shown me, wow, you can speak about all of this because you have all this knowledge and through your own experiences. And I'll give you an example. This this last term of mine, we went over HENT, so head, ears, eyes, nose, and throat. We went over constitutional symptoms such as fatigue, fevers, and then we moved through autoimmune, blood disorders, and then skin issues. For every single section that we went through, I had a personal symptom or multiple symptoms that I could speak about myself and what I've healed.
Amazing.
So, but it's right, it's like getting down to all the details within it all, whereas you have in in school, you have what you have things that are caused by pathogens and things that are not caused by pathogens. But in reality, they're all caused by pathogens according
Yeah.
to medical medium, and we know them. So going back to the example, for example, allergic rhinosinusitis. So it stems from allergies. Oh, really? But just because you don't have the purulent discharge, it doesn't mean that there isn't an underlying bacterial infection. So that's a little bit of the fight that I've had to to go through. No, I actually use these natural antibacterials to help myself heal from this. So it really is bacterial. We're just not seeing it because we're looking for specific symptoms. And if a patient doesn't have a certain symptom, it's not going to derive from a pathogen. So that's just the way that it's seen in the medical world. It's a little bit too black and white.
Well, that you certainly know what you're talking about. And ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here first. Liz is really staking her claim and putting herself out there. There's going to be big things to come. And I think, as I say, you're so young. I can, and I always think about what it says in Life Changing Foods. This world is becoming something new and different. If it's going
It
to become
is.
something new and different, we're going to have to do something new and different. And that's
Yep.
what you're doing.
Yep.
So hats off to you. And you've been so generous with your time here today, talking to us and sharing your story so open-heartedly, so wholeheartedly,
Yes.
and giving hope and inspiration to so many, and then filling us with hope as you talk about share your soul's purpose, your dreams, and what you see for yourself in the future. And I know it's all been very hard earned, but we're very grateful. You've paid your price. We're very
I wish I
grateful
could
that you
tell you
did.
as an older person that it will get easier, but I'm afraid when you're over the target and you're trying to do the right things, they keep coming at you, as we now understand also from Anthony's spiritual information.
Yes.
But
I think you can just say, as an older person, just keep laughing. Like,
yes,
that's probably the best advice. Just keep laughing.
Yes. And just to, go back to that, I can really see how everything that I've been through has strengthened me. All I
Mhm.
have to do is really think about it though and connect to it as I was earlier. And even though it does bring up a lot of emotion, it's what gives me strength to like actually be a voice now and in what I'm doing and what I want to do in the future. And that's what gets me excited, to be honest.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I'm happy about that. Yeah, but I
Well,
do have a long road ahead.
yeah, well, tell people, in case they don't know, tell people where they can find you if they want to kind of stay in touch with your
Yeah.
journey and what you're sharing.
I'm Health with Liz. So, yeah, you can find me on mostly on IG for now. Um, and
And
Underdog
Underdog Warriors,
Warriors.
yeah, I was gonna say.
Yes, Underdog Warriors on IG. So if anyone needs help, sign up to our newsletter at underdogwarriors.org, and you get to be notified of when that application process opens up to apply and perhaps receive some help. Though, right, we do receive a lot of applications, but we do our best to really try and get through and help everyone that requests and asks for help.
Awesome.
Amazing.
And Liz, you are a
Amazing.
very good example of how we end the show all the time. Is just remember how powerful a soul you are and don't give that power away to anyone today. So thank you, Liz.
Thank you both. Oh, you're so generous and kind.
Well,
Thank
you've been
you.
very generous with your time. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And yes, stay in touch.
Thank you.
We started Rewild Renew as a way to coach and empower others to heal and connect with their souls. The views and opinions you will hear on the Rewild Renew podcast are ours and are not meant to be medical advice. Please seek professional assistance if you feel you need it.